have to be careful to not utilize motivational content as a crutch, disguising the responsibility of what we really need to do to get the results that we really want. We can hear sayings like, this is your season of breakthrough, but it leaves off the important part of if you apply yourself, if you allow it to be, if you lay out your life and really analyze the situation to make sure that you're taking the necessary steps to get to that breakthrough. Because sometimes we can be causing our own suffering, which is something that I talk about a lot, is we complain and wallow in our lives, but we're not doing anything to make it better. And we're doing a lot of things that make it worse. Making bad decisions, not taking care of our body, not eating the right things, and just waiting on something to pull us out and make us feel like we can move forward and do something. The reality is you can't wait to feel good to get started, but you need to get started to eventually feel good. It's never going to feel good when you start out. It's always going to be strenuous when you're trying to work out and you're first starting. You're probably going to feel sore. When you eat well and you're first starting, it's probably not going to feel good and sit well in your stomach. And there's many examples and many things that are constantly talked about of you need to get started to eventually feel that feeling of feeling good. That was a lot of feels, but you understand what I'm saying. But this is where motivational content can get tricky, because while it can be uplifting and obviously motivating, it can also be used as a crutch. It's easy to cling to words that feel good and letting these temporary emotions boost our confidence for the moment, or boost how we feel, or even pacify and excuse the overindulgence in other pleasures that we're doing, right? It can be easy to cling to motivational words as you've been suffering long enough and now is your time. You've been going through long enough and here is your time. But without that follow through, the power of these statements fades, and we risk staying in a cycle of feeling temporarily excited without seeing permanent results. It's important to be honest with ourselves and ask us if we're using motivational content to be a band-aid on what really needs to be fixed, on the bigger issue, on the bigger wound of us just applying ourselves. It's so important to shift our focus from hearing the motivational content to actually embodying what we want to see in our lives. Those words and those promises of your life getting better, it can be true if you do follow through with yourself, if you do make yourself a priority and really apply yourself. But it can be a slippery slope to hating motivational content when you're constantly using it as a temporary lift and not really embodying the results that you want to see. And it can start to make you not enjoy or believe those things that people say, and it can develop a sort of mistrust in that type of content and those type of words. And I think it's so important, as motivational content reminds us what's possible. Like, it is possible to live your best life and to have a season of breakthrough and blessings and all of these wonderful things. But it's important to realize that piece of putting in the work. It's ultimately up to you to make it happen. So be careful of being stuck in this cycle of temporarily consuming motivational things that may not necessarily be applicable to you if you are not doing the things that you need to do to get there, right? And I also have talked about this, creating our own suffering, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, is if you're constantly ignoring red flags, making bad decisions, not doing anything to do better for yourself, then that's a key sign that these motivational words might not be for you, that those temporary Pinterest posts and all of those things might just be useless when application is not there. And it's not to say to the motivational content creators, because I believe that I am in a sense a motivational content creator, even if it's for my 2 or 3 online, but it's not to say that we always need to add disclaimers to everything, right? Like, if you do this, if you do that, I think that as a person and an individual, you just need to take inventory for yourself. If you're on the recipient end of that motivational content, really take a look and analyze and lay out your life and see if that is really applicable to you. If you are ignoring the red flags and not doing the things you need to do, if you're constantly stuck in this cycle of self-pity and blame and self-deprecating words that you use against yourself, right? It's all about your mindset, how you talk to yourself, how you receive constructive criticism and feedback. If you're not open to doing any of those things, then most likely it's not going to be a season of breakthrough for you, and that just is what it is. So it's not to say that you can't consume that content or that motivational content is bad, but definitely be honest with yourself And that's really what life is about, is being honest with yourself. Even in the Bible, it says the Bible is sharper than a double-edged sword, discerning between the flesh and the spirit. And that is just saying that God is getting to your heart and understanding what's inside of you, understanding what other people can't necessarily see on the surface. And that's what matters, is what is inside of you. What are you feeding yourself? What comes out of your heart? Is it laziness and procrastination and ignorance, or is it the desire to learn and to gain knowledge and asking and being curious? And there's many more things on how you can look at life, and whatever you cling to, let it be beneficial to you. Really devote yourself to it and go through life really devoting and applying yourself to the principles that you believe. Don't just say you believe it, or say it's going to be your season, or say these things and fade on and move on and begin to go back into that negative behavior, right? And that negative mindset and that negative heart posture. It's important to match what you say with what's inside of you, and only God can really determine that. So it's up to you to determine if you are in a season of breakthrough, or if you're lying to yourself and clinging to these words as false motivation. And obviously there's some things that we can tell on the surface as humans, like if someone's constantly talking about their business that they want to start, but they're not working, saving, or learning anything about business, then we can kind of tell that they're clinging to these sayings of saying it but not actually doing it. Have y'all ever met somebody like that says, I have a great business idea, I have a great plan, I have a great this, I'm a great artist, and they say all of these things, but their work ethic and their discipline and everything else is just not matching up? I think that is still kind of applicable to the original basis of this video, of apply yourself when you want something, when you say something, when you want to claim something as yours. Remember, there's that piece of applying yourself. And there's always that saying that goes, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. And that's kind of a part of this also, right? Like, you can be talented, you can be great, you can say these great things, but when you fail to meet that work ethic piece and that application, right? Knowledge is nothing without wisdom, or knowledge is very minimal without wisdom, because knowledge is knowing and wisdom is application. You can know that you need to leave that situation, but do you act on it? Because staying there and knowing will still hurt you. Anyway, there's a lot to unpack, there's a lot to say, but just know that you can have a great life if you decide to make the right decisions and pick yourself up and allow yourself to be in a space where people are pouring into you. Even if it's hard for you to pick yourself up, put yourself in good spaces and just have a great life if you can. Anyway, thanks for watching.